Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today Maddie and I will be talking about just a few things about how our 2023 reading year went, and also looking towards the new year and seeing what we want to do different, or just kind of talking about how we want this year to look, or just how we want to treat the year no matter what it looks like.
So I had two goals last year. I half did one and I didn't do the other. So the first one was that I was going to take this year slowly and I was not going to try to get any specific amount of books read. I wanted to read lots of long books and lots of rereads and lots of classics. And one thing I did do was I did read slowly, and I did not concern myself with how many books I read. But I did not read long books, rereads, or classics, so I pretty much failed that, but it's okay. It's just kind of a guideline, and then I kind of forgot about it, so. Should I talk about my other one?
Sure.
And then the other one was to read books that I own, which I didn't really do as well.
Yeah, it's just so difficult sometimes when the library is right there. It just is more new and exciting. But yeah, I also had two goals. My first one was to read more biographies, and I don't believe I've read a single biography. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get into our new 2024 stuff, but that's kind of what I'll leave it at now. I'm still so bad at reading nonfiction. It's something I'm going to get better at, but I don't want to also pressure myself to do that too much. My other goal was to read one long classic, specifically Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I did read, I think, maybe a chapter of that, so that was progress, I guess. For some reason this is just really difficult for me. I don't know if it's because I just have so many other things to read and it's hard to fit that in, or if I'm just not interested in it, but it's still something I'd like to do. Maybe not this year, I don't really know. It might be in years and years to come when I've read everything else imaginable and I'm just ready for the long book. I don't know at this point what it'll be.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the books that we were supposed to read in 2023. We made a video of all the books we wanted to read in 2023, and we were very ambitious. At least I was. So I wanted to read about 16 books. I mean, like, these 16 specific books, and I read 8 of them, and I did start a couple of them. So I read, I've already talked about all of these in other videos, so I won't, go into what they're about, but I read Recorder, Get Out of Your Head, A Time to Speak, The Beautiful Ones, A Tale of Two Cities, Adorning the Dark, The Goblin and the Dancer, and By Darkness Hid. Honestly, almost all of those were like 4 or 5 star reads, so I was really happy about that. So the ones I did not read were Nicholas Nickleby, Home, Robin Hood, To Darkness Fled, and From Darkness Won, and
Fellowship of the Literary Lives of the Inklings.
The Fellowship, The Literary Lives of the Inklings, though I am currently reading that one. It's a really long one, and I knew it was going to take me a long time. I did start that one, and I tried to start Home, but I started reading it, and I could not remember what the first book ended with, and I had no idea who the characters were, so it was just like, I had no idea what was happening. Yeah. Oh, wait, sorry. There was one more that I couldn't read, so this one was not my fault. It's The Color of Revenge by Cornelia Funke, and it is not out in English yet, so it got pushed back, so that's not my fault.
So out of the 13 books that I wanted to read, I ended up reading 6 and starting 4. It's not great, but I was fairly happy with the progress. So I did read Daikken's Heir by J.L. Knight. I read In the Shadow of a Queen. I read The Secret Garden, Set the Stars Alight, Rilla of Ingleside, and one book by Thomas Hardy, which was Jude the Obscure. The ones that I ended up starting were Mere Christianity, which I actually almost finished, and I should have finished, but I didn't. I did start All Creatures Great and Small, which I was really, really enjoying, but it had to go back to the library. I also started Aggressively Happy, and just very slow progress with nonfictions, but I was really, really enjoying that one as well. And then Defiant by Brandon Sanderson. I got this for Christmas, so I didn't have very many days to read it, and I was taking it quite slow, so I have started that one, but it just wasn't really possible for me to finish it, because it could have been, but it didn't end up happening. The other books that I didn't get to at all were Bleak House, which I guess I read a couple pages of, and The Hiding Place, which I still really, really want to get to this year, and one book by Wendell Berry. So overall, I didn't do horrible. Some books I still really want to continue, and overall, most of those books I really, really enjoyed.
Okay, so now we're going to go into our kind of goals for this year. Like, Amelia doesn't really have any goals, but she just has some thoughts on what she wants to do this year. And I do actually have a few goals, so I usually don't, but here we go. Some of them are similar to last year, but I didn't do them, so I feel like I don't know. It's just kind of a continuing goal. So one thing I always want to do is read nonfiction, but this year I actually am going to do that because I am buddy reading one nonfiction book a month with our friend, and so yeah, we've actually already started, and I've read more nonfiction in the last part of 2023, so I feel like I'm on a good path to actually do that. I'm trying to read like 3 nonfictions at a time, which is kind of crazy, but I've been enjoying it. The next thing that I am trying to do is I want to write about what I'm reading, not necessarily like for anyone, but I want to write down my thoughts as I'm reading. And I've already started doing that with the nonfiction. It's just harder with the fiction. But I think that'll really help me figure out what I like about the book, what I don't like, just help me categorize what my thoughts are, because I really have so much trouble after I've read a book, like knowing what I thought about it. So I think that'll just help me kind of process it a little better. We also have already talked about this, but we're doing the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge this year, and I am going to do it. We started it last year and I completely failed, so I am committed this year, and I'm reading my January book, so I really want to do it. Another thing I want to do is I have a lot of books I want to reread, so I'm just going to try to prioritize that. I've got lots of books that I own that I want to read, and then, yeah, just things that I remember really enjoying.
Yeah, like Maddie said, for me, I don't have tons of goals. I find that when I set goals, they don't usually happen, which is my own fault, and I hope one day that won't be the case, but for right now, I'm just trying to figure out how to work around my faults when it comes to setting goals. So basically, my one thing that I really, really want to do this year is to read books that I am actually excited about, that I am interested in, and that I am 75% sure that I'm going to enjoy. It's kind of just all that to say is like, I just want to have a good feeling about the books that I'm reading, not go into them being like, ugh, I don't want to read this sounds boring, and just feeling like I have to for whatever reason. That's just something I really, really want to avoid this year. And of course, that's not going to happen all the time. I think it is good to read books on occasion that you don't know if you will like or not, but for me, I think that will really help me get back into reading this year, which is something I really want to do. I felt like last year I was kind of forcing myself to read some things, and that's not a very good feeling and doesn't help you actually enjoy it. So I want to kind of fall back in love with reading this year. Another thing which Maddie reminded me of is that I want to read Lord of the Rings all the way through this year. I'm super excited about that. I've read all the way up to the last half of book 3, so super close, and I'm super, super excited to finally say I've read them all, to read them all, and just have the experience now that I'm a little older. I'm also really wanting to participate in the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, which I think will help me a lot in reading books on my shelf. So other than that, I just hope that this reading year is just a really good experience, and that I feel good about it no matter what happens, no matter how much I read, no matter what I read. I just hope I can look back at the end of the year and just see that I grew as a reader and person and can be happy with my choices.
I do have a few books that I am really wanting to get to this year. I'm only picking 3 rather than 16. What I want to do is I really want to start a Brandon Sanderson series, like one of his big, huge, long ones. I've been really wanting to do that for a while, and I just never really knew where to start, or the library never had the first book, so I'm going to try to prioritize that, put something on hold, and see if I like it. Because I really want to get into more, like, fantasy. Like, I just want to try, like, something really fantasy. Another one I want to do is I want to read a P.G. Wodehouse book. I just bought one at a used bookstore, and I have been meaning to read something by P.G. Wodehouse for a long time, so I think it's finally time, since I own one, to just try that one out. And then now, I'm a little embarrassed to say this. This kind of feels like a cardinal sin of a reader, but I have never read Little Women. And so I have 2 copies of it on my shelves, and I've watched like all the movies, and I really like it, but I've never read it. So that is one of the main things I want to do. I really want to read Little Women this year, and I know I'm gonna really love it. So those were all of the goals we had for 2024, all the things we're wanting to accomplish this year, and, you know, kind of look back on 2023 and see what we mostly failed at, but it's okay. Yeah, it's always fun to set a few goals for yourself and see if you can do them. So we'd love to hear about any of the goals that you have for this year or anything you did last year. And we want to thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.